Hello Milky friends, it is Milk still here with you for another Idle Hero video. How are you? Happy Friday. I hope you have all been spectacularly well. We are here to talk about this week's event, which is Profit Orbs summoning for Sherlock. So a number of things to go through. One, we're going to do the usual value analysis, and two, then I'll give you my thoughts about Profit Orb event and whether or not you should actually do it. So let's look at the stuff you can buy this week. So we have Midsummer Supply. There's Refreshing Supplies, which you can buy for 50 million gold. That's just a no-brainer. If you got the gold, just buy it. What else are you going to do with the gold? I haven't done the very specific anal analysis on this because you could arguably convert the gold to gems based on the Hand of Midas rate, but it's different for everyone, and I'm just not going to bother. Gold is a renewable resource. If you can buy this pack, there's no reason why you shouldn't. You're getting more orbs, and you're getting more promotion stone. So, 7 million, well, 7 days worth of orbs, or 7 orbs for 50 million. It's good enough. But you're all probably wondering about this replenishing supply. $20 over 7 days, you get obviously 7 hero shards and then 105 feathers over the course of 7 days. So what's that worth? Done the analysis. And so it is worth 415 gems per dollar. And as a reminder, the average that we seek is 355 gems per dollar as a minimum in terms of whether or not we think it's good value or not. So 415, it's certainly up there. It's better than the $1 and $2 daily package that I usually do buy from here. But it's not as good value as obviously the monthly VIP cards. But it's just another thing to spend your money on. So if you've got the cash, and recognize that $20 is like, what, 4 Happy Meals? If you got the cash and you love this game and you're addicted, this is a good buy. So I've already bought that, and I bought these 2 things. The next thing to talk about is the Inferno Package. Obviously, you're only going to get it for the 6th skin. This skin is limited, right? So that means it's not tied to a festival, meaning you can fuse 5 common skins here, to get that eventually one day when they drop that skin into this skin fusion area. So just a reminder for those of you who've never watched my videos and don't know about skins, there's 3 kinds of skins. There's your basic skins, which have these yellow borders, and those are the ones that you collect the skin shards for, and then you fuse them together and you get these yellow ones. You fuse 5 of these yellow ones together to get a limited skin via here, right? So you can only see yellow ones here, right? Fusing them together gets you a limited skin, not a festival limited skin, but a limited skin. A limited skin is basically has a purple border, but then so does a festival limited skin. You're probably like, well, Milk, so how do I tell the difference between festival limited skin and just a normal limited skin? Well, there's no way to tell from the border. Unfortunately, the only thing you can do is you have to click through each of them, right? So, for example, if I go to Arm and Ra, there's no way to distinguish, for example, this purple one, except where it says Halloween Limited, and this purple one, just by looking at the border. See how it says Limited? So, like I said, where it says Limited, you can fuse 5 of the basic yellow bordered skins and potentially get this. Obviously, it's a crapshoot in terms of fusing and hoping to get it. Or, and the other purple ones, not all, and the other purple ones are tied to basically an event or an occasion, a festival, and you cannot get it from anywhere except, well, buying it on the day when it was available during that week. So this Drake very much falls, it's only limited. See how it says limited? It very much falls into that middle category. It's not festival limited. So at some point in time, you'll be able to get it either from fusing the basics or from the skin chest, where which you get every time you do Imps Monopoly. They're going to add those skins, the new, what's it? The new Russell skin from a couple of weeks ago when the campaign was on, and they're probably going to add the Drake one as well. I don't know when they're going to do it. They're going to do it, and you can snag it out then. So if you're buying the pack purely for the skin, consider not doing that. So in terms of value, that particular Inferno package is worth 318 gems per dollar, and that was the same as when the Russell skin dropped. The only difference being that when the Russell skin dropped, it came with 180 million gold, only 15 orbs, and I think they gave you 300 of the campaign currency for that particular week. So this Inferno package, obviously, you don't get the gold and you don't get the campaign currency, but you get 5 more orbs. And so, again, it comes out at 318 gems per dollar spent, which is below the 355 gems per dollar spent value threshold we're after when we consider these packages. So if you're filthy rich, you probably already all bought the pack. But if you're waiting for my analysis and blessing, I would say don't buy it. You can spend your money on other things. So that's the Inferno package. Then you have your standard value packages, and there's nothing special about these this week. These are just terrible prices. Unless you're GDP or unless you're one of the Korean whales or the Chinese whales, there's just no point in buying these anytime where there's nothing tied to these packages except the orbs and the gems. Because sometimes they have special events and you get like keys or points, and that's when you sort of, if you really need orbs, you'd buy them. At this point in time, there's nothing additional to what you get. So this is a kind of an average week. So that's in terms of the value package. Obviously, the Heroic Miracle, they're giving you another Balrain, so everyone should do this if they can, because you get more orbs and you get more scrolls. Ormus's Workshop, so they've obviously dropped 2 new artifacts here. If I can, where do I go to see the new artifacts? Not any of these places. Probably here. So obviously they've dropped Crown, and it's kind of neat. So when the battle starts, increase the hero 50% of all damage reduced. Would decrease by 10% each round. So after 5 rounds, if you've got a Splendid, that benefit is gone. So obviously this is good against heroes that basically kill you right out of the gate. Speedy, attacky heroes. So I'm talking about carries specifically, right? They're going to fuck you over round 1. So this is very good to put on heroes that need to survive round 1, like a Russell, so then they can jump in the air and shoot and kill the carries, right? So that's the Golden Crown. The torch is potentially overpowered, but we'll wait for someone that actually has enough torches to fuse together and tell us whether or not it's worth getting. So it says it's converting 80% of damage from active skills or basic skills into dots, which is like, whoa. Each time receiving damage by 20% of the converted damage. So if I read that correctly, it's converting 80% of the damage. So if you do 100 damage, it converts 80% of it, so to 80 damage, and then each round over 4 rounds, you receive a quarter of that 80%, so 20% each round for 4 rounds. Right, so I mean, that's potentially really powerful. Like, oh my god, that's doing damage back at you. 1/5 of the damage that you do to someone for 4 rounds, back on you. That's kind of intense. So, it's probably a must build, but I don't have any torches, so I can't build it. Which leads to our last event, and here I snagged myself out A and B, because obviously A and B is the must-have artifact right now, and Torch and Crown is probably next up there. Probably goes to A and B / Torch, and then maybe the Crown in terms of the must-have artifacts. I didn't really buy another Demon Bell because I don't. There will be a day where you need the extra energy. It's just not now, so I've got to prioritize, and so unfortunately I could only buy one A and B. But for those of you who are just debating, Milk's too, isn't it? Surely it's better to spend your hard-earned feathers on heroes. So here's my advice: if you're trying to work out whether or not to spend feathers on heroes or to spend feathers on one of these pay-to-win artifacts, if you are endgame, so if you have 12 relatively decent E5 heroes, right? You've got to ask yourself, well, will spending the feathers, because keep in mind, right, you need 9 copies of something to get them to E5, right? So 9 times 6 is 540, and then 9 times 80 is 720. So you need somewhere between 560 and 720 feathers all up just to E5 either a non-light dark hero or a light dark hero, right? The question you have to ask yourself is therefore, I can either spend my gems getting an E5 hero, so I can build another carry, I can build another Sherlock, I can maybe build a Rogan when he drops, right? Fine. The question then is, if you build that other hero, what difference will it make to your PvP? What difference will it make to your PvP world, right? So for example, you have to be very self-aware in terms of where you place competitively, in terms of where you are tier-wise, right? So in Crystal Crown League, right, tier-wise, I'm already top 10, right? I would only get a Rogan if I knew it was consistently going to get me to number 1. right? Or even number 4. But given I'm already 5, I could probably get to 4 just by fighting, doing more battles every day, right? Similarly for Crystal Crown League, right? Will that extra E5 hero push you into another tier? Will it actually push you? So let's say we go in, like, so these are the reward tiers, right? Will that extra E5 hero push you from, say, 200 to 500, which is the tier I'm currently in, and I'm comfortable with that? Will it push you to the 1 to 200 tier, right? And are the incremental rewards you get from that going to that tier worth it, right? Because the difference between 200 to 500 and 100 to 200, it's about 3/4 of one orb every week. So 3/4 of one orb every week. And that's the other thing you got to ask yourself, right? So will that E5 hero get me to another tier in Crystal Crown League and in Trial of the Champions and maybe Free Team Up Arena, which is kind of tied to Crystal Crown League? We don't care about Guild Ball. Will it get me to another tier? And at that other tier, you're just gonna get more guild coins, right? Guild coins become profit orbs. So what are you gonna do with more profit orbs? Which is why I'm sort of saying, if you're endgame and you've got 12 E5 heroes, what the hell are you gonna do with more profit orbs? Right? You're gonna replace any new hero that build now, right? Because replacing is much better than just building a new one. It's just more efficient. And then, so if you believe that, so if you're sort of endgame and you don't really need to build any more heroes, and you believe in the replacement strategy, then you don't really need profit orbs. If you don't really need profit orbs, you don't really need glory coins. So if you don't need glory coins, all of a sudden, what's the point, right? So a lot of questions, right? So first question is where you're at. Do you need that? Do you need the food, right? Because if you need the food, then yeah, probably it's worth building the other E5 hero copy. But before you decide whether or not you need to build more food, you got to ask yourself that question: will that additional food, will that food that contributes to me building that next E5 hero, will that next E5 hero get me to another tier of rewards, right? That's the first question. If it won't, then you don't need to worry about food. If you do need to build that hero and you don't have the food, well, then obviously you're going to focus on building that next D5 hero. But if none of those questions apply to you, if you're like me and you're like, well, Milkstool, you've already got a shit ton of E5 heroes. It's another one is nice. Like I can build a Mim Cheese team and that's nice, but it's not going to change my world in terms of Crystal Crown League. It might change my world for Trial of the Champions slightly, but I think what will, over the long run, serve me better, given where I am, is getting another pay-to-win artifact. I think, as I always say, you guys hear me say this a lot of times, heroes are not enduring, whereas artifacts are. Artifacts last throughout time, like the test of time. Heroes come and go, but artifacts stay. And so if you take that hit up front and invest in artifacts right now, so the hit that you take is, all right, I don't have, 12 carries. That's the hit you take up front. But 2-3 years down the track, or maybe even 1 year down the track, when you have that splendid A and B and you manage to invest in that because someone else decided, you know what, I've decided to go with copies instead of investing in pay-to-win artifacts, who's going to have the advantage? Because you're probably going to have the new hero, but you're going to have the new hero with the splendid artifact or the glittery artifact, right? So this is one of those, and I go back to my discussion on asymmetric advantages. So if you haven't seen the video, very much go watch the video on asymmetric advantage, where I talk about this. These are one of the key points of differentiation in terms of gameplay right now, how you spend those relics, whether you choose to build more E5 heroes or you choose to invest in long term and build glittery artifacts or splendid artifacts. This is one of those asymmetric opportunities that is being presented to you at this point in time. All right. So from an asymmetric advantage point of view, I'm absolutely buying the A and B and I'm absolutely building it up. So I've got the glittery version. I just need to get it to the middle version because I don't have enough fucking food. So as you can see, I bought that out. Now I just need to get enough food to get it to the Radiant level. And so I'm 1,700 short, and I'm just going to wait until next week when the Wishing Fountain event rolls around. I have 600 coins. I've decided to dump all my gem spending from Adventure into this, simply because I need the artifact fodder. and I'm going to do like, I don't know, a couple of 100 rounds. So that's my thoughts on whether or not you should buy an artifact from Glorious Boost and obviously Ormus's Workshop. I guess the final question I haven't talked through is whether or not you should actually participate in the Summons event, because the prize this week is actually pretty decent, right? It's a Heart Watcher for those of you who need to build Heart Watcher in your PvEs, and it's Sherlock, right? So if you follow the sequence of Prophet Orb heroes, it actually mirrors very closely. It actually mirrors very closely if we go to our bag. Not the materials chest, the hero chest that you get from Imp's Monopoly. Basically, it follows this isn't the latest one, but it basically follows the order in which the last few heroes have dropped, right? So we're obviously up to Sherlock now in terms of this heroes chest. Rogan will be the next hero to fall into this hero selection chest, and if that pattern continues in Prophet Orbs land, Rogan is probably the next hero that will fall after Sherlock. So that's the first thing to keep in mind. As to whether or not it'll follow that pattern, look, I don't see why not. They've been pretty consistent about it, and if I were them, I would absolutely put Rogan as the next hero, because I want you to spend all your orbs before Black Friday, because last year's Black Friday event was heavily centered around orbs, right? Hard to tell if that's going to continue again. They could do a anniversary thing where they say, you know what, guys, you're not gonna need 2,600 scrolls. Don't worry about it. You only need 2,000. Oh, by the way, you have to pay for Russell. They could fuck us over like that, right? So it's trying to use the past to predict the future. Sometimes it burns us, and sometimes it's come off good, right? So if you believe that the Black Friday format is going to repeat itself, well then if you look at Black Friday from last year, here's what you got in terms of the points, right? So you got 1 point for every orb that you opened up in Prophet Orb Summons area, up to a maximum of 320, and then you got a maximum of 60 points from Branch Replacement, and you had to do like, I don't know, 60 replacements or something like that. It was a big number. And so the maximum number of points you could have got from Black Friday last year was 380 without paying for anything, right? So 380 basically got you to this Kiss of Ghost. And you probably had to buy a pack basically to get to the 400 points, and then you have to buy like a lot of packs to get to the 700 points. So basically, that's the other thing you have to keep in mind, right? There's a lot of things to keep in mind. One, if Rogan's going to come out the next time Prophet Orbs comes around, that's, and do I need a Rogan more than I need a second Sherlock or my first Sherlock? Then the next question is, well, if Black Friday is just around the corner, which I think is like November 27th, so like 2.5 months away, and I believe that it's going to follow the same format as last year, am I willing to potentially forego these juicy resources or prizes in return for a Rogan next time or a Sherlock today? It's a hard question to answer. I mean, I've had to scratch my head and budget a bit. I don't need a Rogan for my lineup. I would like a Rogan, but I don't need a Rogan. And similarly, for me, Sherlock, I need a second Sherlock because I want to do Aspen Dungeon really well. And I think a second Sherlock is infinitely more useful than, say, a Rogan in my lineup. I know a lot of you are like, ooh, what do you mean? Surely that speed is valuable. I think they're going to counter that speed at some point in time. But again, it's you got to go back to that original question of, well, is that extra E5 Rogan or E5 Sherlock going to get you? What's it going to get you? Like in PvP, is it going to get to you in the next tier? Like for me, Sherlock, I think it'll slightly improve my chances in Trial of the Champions. It won't help me out again very much in Crystal Crown League. It'll definitely help me out in Aspen Dungeon. I think having two Sherlocks, but we'll see. So that's why I'm going more Sherlock than I am going Rogan. Plus, how many loops am I going to do? Well, that's where you've had to kind of have to budget. I think I'm going to do 4 loops because I think I can get 80 orbs a month, and then I'll just buy the other orbs I need to on Black Friday when you need to when they make hopefully when they make a good deal on orbs, right? And if you want to know how I got to the 80 orbs per month, I've done a video on how I get 80 orbs a month, and some of it's out of date, but it's this, right? So from completing the Tavern Quest and the monthly events, from completing the Brave Trial event as part of the monthly events, you're gonna get 25 orbs, right? Then in the campaign that happens every month, you can swap your campaign currencies out. Most of us will get 2,400 of the campaign currency. That's worth about 8 orbs because each one converts at about 300 campaign currency for 1 orb, right? Then the wishing coins, you're going to get, depending on how many spins you do, if you do 50 to 100, you're going to, well, if you do 100, you're going to get 4. If you do 50, you're going to get 2. If you do 200, you're going to get another 2, etc., right? We all know how wishing coin works. So you got to go and budget. If you're going to spend, if you want to sort of like spend a little now with the hope of, you know, not spending too much for Black Friday, you can start with this, right? Watch the video, just take a screenshot of this, do the budget and work out how many you can spend, whether or not you can do 1 round, 2 rounds. Like I said, this is slightly updated now because Trial of the Champions, it's obviously giving us way more orbs right now than what we expected. But by that same token, it's also, well, by that same token, not all of us are in the same place, right? So that's the only thing to consider. So if you subscribe to this from the video that I did in terms of, Melkstone probably more or less the same as you in terms of my sources for orbs and where I place in these PvP events, that I probably have the same numbers as you, then you're probably going to get more orbs overall as well, because Trial of the Champions has improved for us all in terms of the rewards that we get. So that's the event overall. I mean, it's a pretty good event. Like, the heroes are decent. This Midsummer stuff is decent. This Inferno Package don't buy. The Heroic Miracle's okay. I'm building my second Belrain. And this pay-to-win stuff, if you're a Dolphin spender, don't worry about it. But if you're a kind of like a semi-whale like me, do it. It's good. Anyway, that's the video for me from this week in terms of value analysis. I'll do separate videos on my Profit Orb summons because everyone seems to be interested. I know I'm going to get shit. So if you want to watch that, it's going to come up on my Discord first, and then I'll release what I actually do and what I get on Sunday. Anyway, guys, have a great weekend. Thanks for watching.